What's up, everybody? It's Chad again. I'm back with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here today with my buddy Larry Love or Ellis Love. Thank you for joining me, Senor.
My pleasure to be here. Finally, I'm a guest on somebody else's show. It feels good.
I know all the years of you having so many guests and everything and doing stuff. Now you're the guest. So thank you for joining me. And I'm really glad that we've got to get you on this episode and everything. And it's gonna kind of be like more of a patient centric show. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of based on patient stuff that we have for topics and everything. But before we get into that, let's let Larry introduce himself. Go ahead, Larry, introduce yourself and give everybody the whole spiel.
All right. Well, I'm Larry Love, also known as LS Love. And in 2010, I started Medical Marijuana Radio, MMJ Radio, here in New Mexico to advocate for the new program. That was, very early on. We were the 13th state. And I just felt that since I had been using cannabis and knew a lot about it, that I would help try to move the program forward. So I've done over 650 podcasts up on YouTube, MMJ Radio, and there's even though they might be a few years old, there's great medical information there.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I remember listening to some of them back in the day, and you have some really good interviews with people too, and some really good information. That's kind of where I'm trying to forward that information to here. Kind of carry that torch and keep the information going and keep the patients informed. Especially these days, when our whole market is totally different now. It's not just medical; it's medical and adult use. And we'll talk more about that here soon. About that whole situation that I was talking about earlier today, and it's part of the title. So if you guys noticed, there's something in the title, and we're going to talk about that soon. But before that, we're going to talk about Larry and get you guys to know who he is, what he's done, and everything. And some of you watching probably know Larry. He's been a part of the New Mexico cannabis industry for a long time, longer than I have been actually. I was in the Army in 2010, so when he got involved, I was still doing my thing. So yeah, we've known each other for about 10 years now or so.
Yeah, at least. And, my thing was to show up at the Department of Health medical cannabis meetings all the time
Yeah.
and not just, sit there and listen, but I would document it and shoot videos and post them so people that couldn't attend could see. I would advocate and speak at each one of these and advocate for the program. Back in 2010 and 11, there were dispensaries that were being raided, not here in New Mexico necessarily, but in California, legal dispensaries being raided by all kinds. You have state police thing to talk about today here, but we were afraid. I was working for one of the first dispensaries up in Santa Fe and managing it for the first couple of years, and we were afraid that we could get busted in any minute by the feds, and that's sort of the attitude that we had to take and be aware of at that time. It wasn't just because it was legal in the state. The feds still weren't happy with it.
Oh, 100%. They still kind of aren't, but they're kind of in a weird little gray area with us. We have a pretty abusive relationship with the federal government when it comes to this. Yeah, because it was a weird time. Yeah, I remember when we couldn't even share cannabis with another patient.
Right.
It was a no-no, and doing podcasts and stuff like this and reviews even was kind of sketchy. Because the DOH, would come down on certain things, and don't get me wrong, the administration we had at the time really ran off of the base of trying to end the cannabis program in the state. We had 8 years of that, and that only ended in 2018 or something like that. So it's hasn't really been that long yet that we haven't had something like that. And now it's kind of slowly changing.
Well, I used to take advantage of situations. Okay,
Yeah.
like for instance, I think it was 2016. And I was coming out of Walgreens up in Santa Fe, and Susanna Martinez was walking in with one of her bodyguards, and I saw her, and I went like this, and then I went and sat down in my car, and then as soon as I sat down, I says, I got to go talk to her. So I got back up and went out. I asked the bodyguard if I could speak with her for a couple of minutes, and I begged her, to legalize, recreational use of cannabis and to make our medical program strong. And I looked her in the eye and I said, this is really a medicine. It helps a lot of people. And she said, yes, I know, but right now is not a good time. And this was when, the Trump stuff was happening, and so anyway. I tried to take advantage. I went and spoke to Governor Richardson and sat down in his office earlier than that when he was governor, and I said, you know what? This was when we had one producer. It was called SFI&M, and they were the first ones to go out of business as well. And I went to the governor's thing early in the morning. I said, we have only one producer. We have all these patients. And I was the 343rd patient, by the way, you had mentioned.
Oh,
earlier.
wow.
It was one of the early ones.
Yeah, I'm like 8,000 something. That's like
Yeah.
really early.
So he put me together with his chief of staff, and I went in and I spoke to him at that meeting. And that was on a Friday. By Monday, they were on the road to approving 10 or 11 new producers. Of which one of them was Canaceutics. And I want to mention that Canaceutics was one of the first dispensaries. I was on their original board to help them get that license. You had to have 2 board members. And they are one of the only dispensaries that stuck to the plan, wanted to be medical only. For the last couple of years, they've only sold medical products to medical patients. And unfortunately, they announced 10 days ago that they will be closing up shop on the 27th. And right now they're having sales. They have half grams and, for $15 of concentrates, and their bud is really good bud, by the way. They really grew good stuff. And so they're having a sale. So support them on the way out. It's unfortunate that medical only dispensary didn't make it. And we hope that other dispensaries that are, proliferating the legal recreational use will try to cater to some of us patients that are still here, and we need medical products. We need syringes, we need capsules and topicals and so forth.
Yeah. And we were going to talk about Canaceutics later on in the show, but we could talk about it now. But yeah, it's unfortunate that it's happening. I mean, they were one of the first, and I wouldn't say one of the first to go too, but we called the original people in the cannabis industry or the medical cannabis industry here the Dirty 30. That's one of the nicknames that they kind of acquired throughout the years. And they were a part of one. I wouldn't say they were Dirty 30. I actually went there a couple of times, and I really enjoyed the product and the people there. They really did want to help the patients. And at the time, this was like 2015, I believe, maybe 2014. And I remember getting a little glass jar there and everything, and it was real nice, because normally you don't get stuff like that back in New Mexico. It was all plastic containers. It was all, to be honest, a couple times I got a couple Ziploc baggies.
Early on, for sure.
Yeah. I got a few times actually. I got Ziploc baggies and then the labels on it, and of course incorrect as shit. But it was one of those things that was just weird, because why was I getting my medicine in a plastic baggie, and then I go there and I get this little glass container, and I was like, perfect. Why don't many other places do this? It was just a gift for being a first patient. And nowadays that's kind of like the norm, like you see plastic and, glass jars all over the place. There's Mylar bags, of course, but you don't see the Ziploc baggies anymore. Thank God.
True that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has gotten better. And of course our recreational program has taken off tremendously. The sales of medical dispensary sales that are for medical patients has gone down. I'm sure you've looked at the most recent numbers. So it's just sad, because if it wasn't for the medical program and the acceptance of it in like over 40 something states in the United States, we wouldn't have the acceptance of recreational. So we owe the medical industry a debt of gratitude for everyone who's using it recreationally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, since you were here at the beginning of the industry, can you share with people how it was trying to acquire cannabis, as a patient, like 2010, 2011? Like, what was that process like?
Well, again, there was one SFI&M, and they would meet you. You would place an order maybe 2-3 weeks ahead of time. They would meet you on the side of a road up in Santa Fe or in a parking lot, and there would be lines of cars, and you would drive through, and you would have paid for it. I'm trying to think. I think you paid for it in cash, and we were in a parking lot over on Cerrillos Road or out on one of the highways, meeting people to buy medical cannabis. It was really, really weird. I remember Robert Platzorn, who worked for SFI&M at the very beginning, just it was just a strange situation. We're talking about 2010, 2011 was when the first dispensaries in New Mexico really started, so it
Yeah.
was tough.
No, 100%. Because when I got in the industry, or not to the industry, when I got into the program in 2013, it was weird because here in the South, because I don't know how it was in the South, if like you even had a choice to do that back then, like for SFI to come down to like Las Cruces or Alamogordo or something like that and drop medicine off. Because at the time when I got in, there was only two places I could get cannabis in the South that was near me, and that was Ruidoso and Las Cruces. And the Las Cruces one was appointment only, so you couldn't just walk in at any time of the day and just pick up cannabis. You'd have to call, you'd have to wait for them to get there, and then they're usually paying like $17 a gram or something ridiculous. And it was really weird. I didn't like it. I think the next year things kind of started to slowly change, and I think that's when they started to add a couple of more in the city. And then 2015, 2016, I think is when it really started to form down here, because in the South it was just so sparse and just so nothing was here. Like
Well,
we kept begging the state, like, please add something for the South. Like we don't have anything.
Here was the problem. In 2010, it's the checkpoint going down and coming back up, right?
Mhm.
So there was one incident where Jacob White, who then went on to work for R. Greenleaf and was a major player with R. Greenleaf, he was working. I'm trying to think what the name of the place was, but he got stopped either going down or coming back. Okay. And he got stopped by the feds, and they kept him for hours and hours. And there's an interview that I did of him when he got back, like the next day, that you can still hear if you go up on YouTube. It's very early on. And that's what we was going through. The feds were still stopping people and harassing them. And I'm not sure, it's 13 years ago or whatever, and I can't remember whether they took all the medicine or not. But it was a hassle to be in the medical cannabis industry here in New Mexico and other places too.
Yeah, and it was actually the reason why the law was written the way it was initially, because it was so strict. Like I said, you couldn't share cannabis with anyone else.
Mhm.
It was like super hush hush. It was really hard to even get a doctor to recommend cannabis for you in the first place to get a card. And I just remember how strict it was even to grow cannabis, because before they added the personal production license, I remember there was nothing like that. They just wanted to make sure that they would tell you just like it has to be here. You want to make sure it's inside, and like
It was sort
wait
of wink,
whatever.
wink. It was wink, wink at the
Yeah,
very beginning, and
yeah, it was wink, wink, and then they added that PPL thing, and I did not like that, just for the simple fact that it caused a lot of issues for people who just didn't own their homes.
right.
Like for myself, every year I had to go to my landlord and beg her for a freaking letter so I can grow my cannabis at my house. And now that's no longer the case. And like I get it or whatever, but there's a lot of other things that go under that too as well. I mean, it's just it's a hassle for people, and like people shouldn't be bugging their landlords to just grow a plant, and most people grow it outdoors. And at the time I was growing outdoors, and so it's not like I was, taking anything in the house. Now I actually own that house. I've been growing indoors for years, but now we don't have the PPL thing, and I'm actually glad it's gone. I don't know about you.
Well, everybody's allowed to grow. How many plants is it now? I don't even know.
6 per adult, no more than 12 mature per household.
So, how many flowering at a time? You can have
Six.
six.
6, no more than 12 per household. So
Okay.
if 2 adults live there, you get
Listen,
6 plants, mature and immature.
let's be honest, everybody. If you are growing six plants, you got enough for a year if you know what you're doing. Over enough. I mean, that's a lot. As far as I know, we're allowed to gift 2 ounces to anybody
Yeah.
a day. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay, and so that's great. When I was growing last few years, I would always give it away. It feels so good to give it away to people. It's just fantastic. So we actually do have a really good program here.
Yeah. No, now the program is a lot better. It's improved a lot since 2019, I guess, is when they changed the medical cannabis law. And I remember that day because when the law changed at midnight, I did a video with one of my buddies, and we did a video on how to share cannabis now with your the other patient, because patients weren't really knowing how to do it the legal way, because there's a legal way of doing everything. Like
Yeah.
now, transferring cannabis without financial consideration is what we do to
You
give
couldn't
someone else
take a hit
cannabis.
and pass it. You couldn't do that. You
No,
couldn't
no, you
pass a
couldn't.
joint.
Like, no, not at all. It was kind of like a celebration. Like, this is
Yeah.
nice. We can actually do this legally and not have to hide. And the whole reason behind that was the federal government and the fear of. And that's something that the state has battled with for a long time. And now I kind of feel it's subsided a little bit. But the next topic we're going to be talking about kind of changes our thoughts and ideas on that, to be honest. But before we get onto that, there's a couple more questions I really wanted to ask you and everything. So when you started MMJ Radio to educate, like how I'm doing now, what was like your main focus at the time for like education? Like, what'd you see patients really needing to be educated on?
Well, I spoke to patients who were
Mhm.
using cannabis and giving their experience and their results. One of my first interviews was a woman named Shona Banda. I don't know if you know who that is, but she's famous as a Crohn's patient, and she was the one that originally had these old style vaporizers that had the glass ball on top of it, and you would heat up, and then the sticky stuff would like stick to the glass, and she would scrape it off. It was oil, it
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah,
vaporizing oil, and
yeah,
she would scrape it off, and she was eating it, and it was helping her Crohn's. I mean, there were people with terrible diseases like Crohn's and others that were just getting great results. From using cannabis. So I wanted people to see that and hear how people were using it. So I had lots of patients on, other advocates. Michael Krawitz, I've had him on at least twice a year for the last 12 years or so. He has been flying all over the world to advocate for the legalization of cannabis as a medicine, and here in the United States, he's a vet. He's cannabis for vets. I mean, he's one of the big leading guys that were trying to get this passed for veterans. So all kinds of people. It was about educating people who thought that cannabis was just for getting a buzz.
yeah,
So
100%. That's something that we needed at the time to kind of show that. And who knows, that probably helped because sometimes legislators watch this stuff. New Mexico is such a small state that the legislators kind of
mhm.
have no choice but to hear what we have to say.
I used to have
Um, you
Cisco McSorley on all the time early on.
oh,
Okay,
McSorley.
Cisco was advocating. He was a senator here. He was advocating for it, and yeah, he let's not forget Cisco. You
No,
know,
I remember him. I got to meet
yeah.
him a couple times, and he did help when I was on the SM 105 task force from the governor and everything when we were trying to revamp the medical cannabis laws and everything. We were making suggestions, so I got to meet him because he was a part of it. And yeah, real cool guy. He got appointed by MLG to a different position, and he's no longer a senator, but good for him. He's doing stuff still for the state and still doing his thing. So congratulations to him. So are you working with any companies at the moment? You mentioned that you're on the board of Canaceutics. Is there anything going on these
Well,
days?
I was on the original board of Canaceutics,
Yeah.
but at that time you could be on multiple boards, at least two
Mhm.
different companies. It was early on, and I was on two different companies. So I resigned from Canaceutics when they got their license, and I actually went to work for that other unnamed Santa Fe dispensary that I won't mention who they are.
Yeah.
But the name rhymes with Schmakrid Martin, and I don't like to mention them. So,
Fair
so,
enough.
so right now I'm actually consulting with Quantum Labs, New Mexico. Nicholas Montoya has an incredible lab where he's making all kinds of great products, diamonds. He's growing diamonds that are just incredible, 99% THCA, making all kinds of other uh, uh, extracts products with the technical. He's got one of the greatest machines around. It's like $1 million machine. It just does everything. It's all AI and computerized. And also, I'm a consultant with Roadrunner Cannabis and Verve Health Shop up in Edgewood. They are great. They are involved with micro growers, and they gather up some of the finest bud around, and they are really, I guess now that Canaceutics is going to be gone, really centric on medicine and providing those kind of products for also recreational, but they're looking at patients and want to deal with patients.
100%. Because that's something that I've been touting for a long time. Is let's not forget the patients, and let's ensure that the patients are taken care of at the end of the day. Because if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And that's one thing that I kept telling at the beginning because we weren't ready when we passed medical cannabis or recreational cannabis in New Mexico on the medical side. We didn't have enough producers. We didn't have enough cannabis. We just weren't ready. And now
Mhm.
we're kind of seeing, the effects of that. We didn't ramp up our numbers at all. We kind of just said, let's go.
Yeah. Well,
And so the patients kind of suffered for a little bit.
yeah. Let me just jump in on that because, one of the problems that the state has, and not just this state, but every state that starts, a new recreational program, is that people think it's a license to print money. So they
Yeah.
come in, they make up some name, and they don't have enough education in business or in cannabis, and they don't come in with enough capital in order to make a business successful. And they're going up against big MSOs that are coming in and buying up some of the small places. And what we're going to see, with all the licenses that have been given out here, within the next 12 months, it's already been 2 years. We're going to see a leveling out of the playing field. There's a lot of people that unfortunately came in with dreams, and they're not going to make it. They just didn't come in right. You have to be able to spend some money and have some backing. You just can't open up with what you stashed over the last few years, being a street provider.
Yeah, 100%. There was a lot of misconception coming in, because all these other states, had such success with people doing it. But some of these people really got lucky. They knew what they were doing. They were well funded. And now coming into the market, those same people kind of came to New Mexico and knew what they were doing and what to expect. So they knew what mistakes not to make.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people here in New Mexico didn't know that. And like you said, they didn't know enough about business. And I'm seeing that now. A lot of these people don't know enough about business. Communication sucks, to be honest. It's really hard to communicate with some of the people when it comes to the business, because I don't know why, to be honest, but it makes doing business a lot harder. Instead of someone just saying, hey, no, we're not interested right now, they just kind of ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird, and it's okay to get a no. That doesn't change anything. So people out there, doing business, don't be afraid to say no to someone, be respectful, but just let them know that you're not interested. Don't waste anybody's time. This isn't Tinder. So, this is a business now. You're not going to sit there and try to just ghost somebody. To be honest, and unfortunately, you have to deal with that person at the end of the day because you're in the same industry. So just be professional about it, and communicate. I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, or like lack of communication on certain parts and aspects of the industry or not.
Well, as far as bud tenders are concerned, most of them don't have any medical advice that they can give you. Okay,
That too.
that's what I
And there's a
found
lack
out.
of training for,
Right, a lack of
bartenders.
training.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's all going to even itself out. The strong will survive, and it's like some people are actually curing their bud. Some people just grow it, hang it, dry it. I'm not using the cure word, and push it out into the public. Okay, so there's a lot of boof out there, and you have to know where to go. There are some good people that really are growing some cannabis that you can consider medicine, but also really good recreational medicine as well. You just have to search it out and find out who the people are.
Yeah, and be careful out there, guys. Like you said, some stuff is getting through, and people have their ways, and there is some moldy cannabis out there. So just be wary, about where you get it, and don't just think that because it's cheap, or because even has a name brand, it's not going to have an issue. Just be safe, be wary, Semper Gumby. So where can people find you, Larry? So we can move on to the next topics and everything.
Sure. Well, first of all, if anybody needs any consulting, you can write me at mail at lslove.com. That's my email address. I'm also been collecting and creating cannabis domain names for the last 12 or 13 or even 15 years. So I have a website to where if there's new people coming into the business or you want to rebrand, you can go to 420DN, that DN is domainnames.com, 420DN.com. And there's a list of stuff there. You can call and talk to me about whatever you would like. But you have to have a good name and a good website to drive people to your business. And obviously, with all the competition, you're going to have to be a little bit different and have sales going on and promote yourself. You can't just unlock the door every morning and expect people to come in.
Yeah, and you have to stand out. Like you have to do something different. Like I see a lot of places mimicking Colorado and California with like this whole crazy security front desk thing that they don't necessarily need, and it kind of pushes people away because it doesn't look fun. You know, the places that are cool to go into don't look like that at all. And so, yeah, you're going to have to think outside the box and be different. Don't be
Mhm.
like every other dispensary because you're not going to make it. You know, like I see people with $5,000 in sales a month, $20,000 in sales a month, you know, and I don't know how they're still open sometimes. So, just think outside the box. So anyway, Larry, thank you so much for joining me. That was amazing. We're gonna move on to the next topic that we have at hand. But again, thank you again, and
My
thank you
pleasure.
for your advocacy throughout all these years. You know, I've learned some stuff from you. You know, we've had many years of debating and stuff, and having conversations and sitting there watching legislative sessions together and
Mm.
stuff. And it's hopefully we can continue that throughout the years. But I really am glad to have you on the show finally. He was my old producer from the last show that I was on last year. So Larry and Gino could probably get together, maybe talk together and figure some stuff out too.
Yeah, we'll straighten you out.
Gino does a good job though. If you guys don't know, Gino actually works on the radio side, and he's going to Hawaii soon. So right now we're recording this episode a day early. So he's going to go to Hawaii. I already told him a bunch of good spots to go eat that he should go try. Lucky guy. I would wear a University of Hawaii shirt, but I graduated from New Mexico State, and we beat UNM last week. So it's kind of a flex at the same time because Hawaii was my first school. So thank you guys again and everything. But yeah, thanks again for joining me. And let's move on to this next topic here. So this next topic, I'm going to be talking about the state police here in New Mexico. And I don't know if it's just the state police or if it's local authorities or if it's sheriffs too as well. But there's a YouTube video that I'm popping up right now. And this YouTube video, and we'll show you at the beginning so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. And this video was uploaded recently by New Mexico Body Cam, and that's the name of the account. Wait, pause it real quick. Thank you. In it, a guy got pulled over. He was going over 90 something in a 75. He was going on I-40, which in New Mexico, if you guys don't know, or in the United States, I-40 goes horizontally across the nation. I-25 goes vertically up and down. So he was on I-40, coming from Gallup, and he was going, that direction, I think east. And the cop pulled him over going, 90 something. And the whole time the guy was really shady and sketchy. You could tell he was very nervous. And then him and his chick's, story didn't, add up. However, the reason why I'm showing you this is because this officer also happens to be a Homeland Security Drug Task Force agent. Now, for me, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that they could have two different jobs and enforce two different types of law, state and federal law, at the same time. So I guess we'll watch this video real quick and we'll figure out what's going on, and you guys can kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about.
No, you're good, man. So before you take off, okay, I gotta address something real quick. So in the car, I'm getting an odor of marijuana. Okay, have you guys been smoking in the car?
No way you could.
Okay, so have you guys had any marijuana in the car? Anyone smoking around it? Okay. Where did you guys stay while you guys were in Gallup?
We stayed at a hotel and my cousin, there's like these trailers. I don't really know the address, but like, so there's the middle exit.
Okay.
We stayed at the Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn?
Holiday Inn,
Okay. And was your mom with you the entire time?
She's been with me.
She's been with you this entire time? Okay. And you haven't smoked any marijuana?
Yeah.
Because you just showed me the THC.
No, yeah, like, we don't,
cartridge.
I was gonna buy a thing, but like, look. Do you see like the thing right there? I don't have a battery to smoke.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it smells like that.
My mom does have a marijuana card.
She has a marijuana card?
Yeah, but
okay.
There's no way we would have smoked because...
Did you guys smoke and then get in the car kind of thing?
No, we haven't smoked at all.
Okay.
And actually, she's not even feeling good.
She's not feeling good? Okay. So look, man, I'm a task force officer with Homeland Security, okay? So that odor of marijuana gives me probable cause to search a vehicle.
And she has a medical marijuana card. So technically...
Do you have a medical marijuana card?
No, I don't smoke. Like, I haven't smoked. I smoked, but like, I haven't been able
to. So just based off that smell, I'm going to be searching the car, okay? Right. Is there anything illegal in the car?
No, like, what's it called? Like, she has a medical marijuana card, so, like, technically, I'll commit search, right?
I'm sorry?
She has a medical marijuana card, so, like...
So... Yeah, that okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. She has a medical marijuana card, but the car still smells like it, and you're in possession of the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but like,
So, like I said, I'm gonna search the car. Is there anything illegal in the car?
no,
Is there any large amounts of U.S. currency?
no,
Over like $10,000?
no,
Is there any firearms in the car?
no.
No? Is there any methamphetamine in the car? Is there any heroin in the car? Is there any cocaine in the car?
Yeah, go ahead and sign.
That's fine. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to give you guys a gist of what we're trying to, to get at in this video. So this officer pulled this guy over, and the guy's nervous the whole time. His stories aren't matching up. He said like 5 different places he stayed at while he was in Gallup, and then finally said like the days in or something. And it just sounded shady the entire time. Now the cop uses the excuse of he smells cannabis, and in the state of New Mexico, smelling cannabis alone isn't probable cause unless you're the driver. And he told him he was going to search the vehicle. And then he told him that he's a Homeland Security drug task force officer. He shows him some ID or credentials. You can't really see it that well in the video. So I'm not too sure what it looks like. To me, this seems like, okay, so this guy in the video, he did actually have fentanyl and he did have some heroin. Then the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because this could be dangerous to residents here in New Mexico who are following the law, who happen to have cannabis that they bought at a legal dispensary or grew it themselves or whatever. They're over 21, have a medical cannabis card. Now you're telling me that a state police officer who has these credentials as a Homeland Security Drug Task Force officer as well can pull me over and charge me with a federal crime and harass me and I'll do all this other stuff just for the sole fact that he is pretty much working for the federal and the state government at the same time. How does that? What do you think about this, Larry? I mean, it's kind of crazy.
My first thought immediately is that there's a conflict of interest there, because state law allows certain things, and federal law obviously doesn't allow cannabis. It's still a Schedule I drug.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You probably know more about this. How long ago was this event, by the way?
So this looked like it happened earlier this year. I'm not too
Mhm.
sure. There's not too many details.
Right.
Like the information and stuff and everything kind of just came out not long ago. This one came 6 days ago. So this video came out 6 days ago. And I think the incident happened months ago because I think in the video somewhere they mentioned the date or something like that or a time period.
So do you know the outcome of was this guy arrested? How much what was found in the car?
If you go back to the video, it actually shows you what he got caught with. So he had 160,000 fentanyl pills and a kilogram of heroin. And of course, he had cannabis with him as well, which they put as marijuana, which tells me something odd because here in New Mexico, most people call it cannabis. We don't call it marijuana. And that's just even the news and everything like that. So it's worrisome that this is now the case. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but this is worrisome because now you have to worry about not just the border checks harassing you for this. Now you have to worry about the local state PD who is now using some loophole to get around state law to enforce federal law in order to search your cars now. Now, I get it. He did have a lot of other illegal drugs that he shouldn't have. And I've had cops tell me this directly. I use cannabis or the smell of it because it leads to other things. And I don't find that to be right because now you're discriminating against a cannabis person because of the fact that they just use cannabis. Now you're assuming that majority of the time they're going to have even more drugs or even harder drugs or something like that when that's usually not the case because it's just not.
Yeah. What was the outcome? Do you know the outcome of the situation?
He got arrested. Yeah, he got arrested.
Has there been any legal courts or things?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I mean, everything on this is still new.
The question would be, was that a legal search and seizure? Okay. Did the cop illegally search that car because of the smell? And of course, again, yes, he had some illegal stuff there, but you know what? People, have been searched illegally before and that shit gets thrown out.
And then,
okay.
and then
the cop may
or
have,
even if they do, sometimes it does because of something like that. Yeah.
Right. So it'll be
And that's
interesting
my
to
worry.
watch this case and to see whether state law trumps, I hate to use that word, federal law or not. Okay, that's what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, this could be something that could possibly either see a change in state law or go to, New Mexico State Supreme Court, because this seems a little weird.
Mhm.
You know, I've talked to other people and got their opinions, and I really want everybody to come up, to your own conclusions on the matter. And to be honest, we're still learning information about this case and what happened and everything, so we don't have all the details. So there's really no like definitive thing what's going on. I mean, who knows? The police officer could have been wrong, or who knows? The police officer could have been right, and now we're all screwed because now the state's going to send a bunch of federal officers to drug task force training or whatever, and then they're just going to start arresting a bunch of New Mexico citizens for having cannabis.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of a slap in the face to us because we worked so hard with our state legislators to get this passed and thought we're good. Now we have to go back to another mindset before cannabis was legal, where we were afraid to drive on the roads with cannabis, even as a medical cannabis patient. And now that fear is coming back because we can't even be like, well, it's legal in the state. Why am I being harassed? Now they're just going to be like, well, I work for the feds, so I can fuck you over if I want. Bend over, buddy. And so it's a slap to the face to us. And it's kind of pisses me off a little. I'm not going to lie.
I wonder what kind of federal training these guys get, if any, or else it's just a vanity job.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just
Yeah.
the DEA and the Border Patrol is just irritated with how much weed's going on, that they're just, like, hey, guys, you want to work with us? And maybe the state doesn't really even know this is going on. I have no clue. But the video shows right there that this guy said, I'm with Homeland Security. I'm a drug task force officer with them. And since you have weed, I have the right to search your car without a warrant. And I don't give a shit about state law, even though he's in a state police car and a state police uniform.
Yeah.
So it's kind of confusing because now, so are you a state police officer or are you a federal officer? Like, which one is it? You can be both at the same time. That's a little weird in my opinion. And I don't think that should be the case. And if that is the case, I think the law needs to be changed where we have to bar local authorities from working with federal agencies in such manner.
I'm not going to sanction the fact that the person that was arrested had all that fentanyl and other stuff. Okay. I mean,
100%.
That's a whole different deal. This guy took his chances by dealing in that stuff and carrying that stuff with him in a car. So, again, whether that was a legal search and seizure will have to be played out. But cannabis, gets a bad rap, that it leads to other drugs. However, we know that cannabis is really a gateway out of other drugs.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that, a lot of people that deal with this still haul cannabis or whatever, and that gets put in there with it because of the federal, legality of cannabis. And, maybe end of this year, next year, they might reschedule and this might change. And I really hope to God they deschedule. I do not, let me make this clear, I do not want rescheduling. I want descheduling. Rescheduling is just what we might be dealt with.
Well,
end of the day.
We're not going to get what we want, right?
No, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to let people know. And like, oh, we don't want rescheduling, we want descheduling. I'm like, I get it.
Well,
but let's get to reality.
Schedule 3 is really going to be a problem, and that's probably where it's going to go.
100%.
So you can do a whole nother show on that whenever.
I've been keeping people up to date on that one. Yeah, 100%. No one's not ignorant to that subject right now. But yeah, that's pretty much what I had for this. There was another part of the video, but it pretty much just confirmed, the guy saying that he's a drug task force officer, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to leave the link for this video in the description. Around 7:55 is when he starts talking to the guy and telling him that, he's a federal officer. And then around 10 minutes is when he's, walking up to the car to talk to the lady and telling her the same thing, that even though you have a medical cannabis card, I'm a federal drug task force officer and I'm allowed to search the vehicle. So I'm going to search the vehicle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you guys want to watch the video for yourself, come to your own conclusions, please do. Again, I don't condone what these people were doing, but at the same time, it gave cannabis a bad name. And it makes all of us in the cannabis industry and the users targets. And that's scary because now we can't even drive down our own highways past the border check that we just got harassed from without worrying that a state police officer isn't also going to be a federal drug task force officer and try to screw us over in some way. So please abide by all laws, go the speed limit. This guy was literally going 90 something miles an hour and 75. Yeah,
look,
Yeah.
I mean, what the F? I mean, this guy, he was asking for trouble.
You're at that point. You're asking
If
for
you
trouble.
know
So
you're carrying that kind of illegal, I mean, you
yeah,
go 5 miles under the speed limit. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
these are tips
And
for drug smugglers that we're giving out.
and don't ever talk to the police, guys. There's one tip there that I've been told over and over and over: do not talk to the police. And this guy is a prime example of what you do not do when the police ask you questions. There's the Pop Brothers at Law. They have this whole "shut the fuck up" thing going on, where they really teach you how to encounter your encounters with the police, what to do and what to say, especially in situations like that, because they're going to try to act nice and pry stuff, and they're going to use everything against you, just like it says when they arrest you in Miranda rights.
Well,
Everything you say can and will be used against you. So just shut the fuck up.
as a former intelligence officer, you know how people can ask and phrase questions in a certain way to make people open up. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and cops don't like it when I use that against them. They get pissed. Anyway, so we're gonna move on from that topic, guys. That's all I really have for that for now. If any more information pops up, I'm gonna share it. It's been a topic that today, the time of recording, because this is gonna come out tomorrow. Today, currently, this is one of the topics that I was talking about on my social media. So if you follow me on my social media, you're actually getting a hint of this that is going on real time. But I just really wanted to talk about it, kind of give some viewpoints and clarify some things on it too, because like I said, I don't condone smuggling fentanyl and heroin. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is that there's a legal thing that is allowed in New Mexico, and that's cannabis, and now we don't even know if that's really legal because of the cops finding loopholes of trying to enforce federal law now. So yeah, but anyway, we're gonna move on to the next topic, and it's the last topic of the show actually. Cheech and Chong are actually working with another cannabis retail establishment in the state. Do you want to guess which one it is, Larry?
well, I think I might know, but you go ahead.
Okay, so they're working with Dreams Cannabis Dispensary. And if you guys don't know or know, a few weeks ago, I actually visited Dreams Grow. They invited us over, because they had some allegation stuff or whatever, and they invited us over to check the grow out. And they're actually working with these guys. We did a whole video. It's on the NM Area 420 page, and you guys can check that video out there. I think I have it pinned to the top, so you can check out their grow and come to your own conclusions. So it looks like they're working with the Dreams Dispensary, and they're wanting to bring high-quality cannabis, is what the article said. But this really just seems more or less like the same partnerships that Jim Belushi had here in New Mexico, where it's just going to be working with the farm or getting their products and then making their own products for it. Now, what I really would like to see, and I just thought of this, is I know Cheech has a chichelada, which is a michelada, which has no beer. It has cannabis in it. Now, that's something I would really like to try and see in the state. So that's kind of cool. So I hope something comes cool from it, but, we'll see. So what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I'll tell my quick Cheech story.
There you go.
Living in LA, I got to meet a lot of people, and so
How long did you live there?
almost 30 years.
Holy
From
shit.
the time I was 18, and first started smoking marijuana summer of '68, and I went on from there. It's been 55 years I've been using cannabis. So my family had an antique store in West Los Angeles, and Richard Marin, who's Cheech, was a customer, and he came in and bought stuff. And so I went out to deliver some items to his house on Malibu on Pacific Coast Highway. And he had this wonderful house right on the beach with a pyramid on top of it and like a deck. Okay, so I brought a joint with me just in case, and so we went up on his deck looking over the Pacific Ocean, and I remember exactly what it was at the time. It was the gold Colombian that came in. It was yellow. It was like as yellow as your logo up there, and I got to smoke a joint with Cheech up on his roof. That's my story with Cheech.
Nice.
And you know what? Those guys more than anybody else were open and made cannabis an open thing, like it was no big deal, and we owe them a really debt of gratitude for being so open at a time where people were getting arrested. Look, Tommy got arrested for selling glass. He
And it wasn't even his; it was his son's business.
Yeah, well, they were together in the business anyway. And Paris is a really nice guy as well. But he did time for selling glass.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we were at.
And it wasn't even glass that had been used; it was brand new, unused glass. It's crazy.
Bongs and so forth.
Yeah.
So they are iconic. They're instrumental. The fact that they're still, I guess they're in their 80s now. and that they're out and they're sort of finally being able to capitalize on the help that they gave us to proliferate the cannabis to the public. So I'm glad that they're seeing this now in their
Yeah, me
lifetime.
too. And I'm glad that they're doing something here in New Mexico. People are starting to see that New Mexico has something good going on. Hopefully, we can continue that and not harass our local citizens, and we can continue to be a model for the rest of the states that are looking to regulate cannabis at the at the adult use level. No one's done it 100% correct yet. Don't get me wrong. There's still some stuff that needs to be fixed, added, etc. That's with anything, but seeing stuff like this shows us that we're on the right track. Because if we weren't, then we wouldn't see all these celebrities jumping into the market here. We got Jim Belushi now, we got Cheech and Chong. And Cheech and Chong was working with, I believe, Pure Life on something else before, but I think it was more on promotional stuff. I don't know if it was on getting products of their own line here in the state. I'm sure there may have been talks, but as far as I know, that wasn't the case.
Right. By the way, speaking of the Blues Brothers, and I already told you I smoked with Cheech.
Yeah.
I actually smoked with Danny and John Belushi at the Radio and Records concert at the Century Plaza Hotel in 1980 in their room. A friend of mine knew John, and so yeah, I got to smoke with those two guys as well.
Man, you got to smoke with a bunch of cool people.
And I always bring my own, so they get to smoke my shit.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. So, like, how was it smoking with the Cheech and Chong, with Chong or Cheech? Excuse me.
Yeah, I've never met Tommy. I saw him walking around West LA once, but it was look, it was 50 years ago. So do I remember every minute of it? No, but it was just a quick thing, and just part of my cannabis stories.
Yeah.
Canalogs, actually.
There you go. Canalogs.
So, and I am rebranding Medical Marijuana Radio to Canalogs. In the next few months, I'm going to start up some new interviews, and I'm going to start off by doing something I call On the Backs of the OGs. Okay. Speaking of Tommy and Richard and the Blues Brothers and all that stuff, this industry has been built on the backs of OGs. I'm going to interview these OGs before they pass along. One of the interviews that I'll probably rebrand is with Lynette Shaw. It's up on my MMJ Radio YouTube right now as the last interview that I did before I'm rebranding. So a lot of these people need the recognition that they gave this cannabis industry a kick in the butt when it wasn't popular.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people out there. I mean, there's one, we have the SE Awards.
Yes.
But I kind of feel that the SE Awards needs to start giving a brief history on who SE was at the beginning of the award ceremonies, because there's just so many more new people in the industry. And it's no one's fault. It's just the fact that, we came into an industry and we all knew, but now it's a new industry and there's a bunch of new people from out of state who have no clue who SE was.
Let's not forget SE, Valerie Hubbard. There's a lot of people that were advocating and speaking down at the Roundhouse and trying to get this legal back in the day. Yeah. We can't forget those people.
Valerie Hubbard, one of the mothers of the cannabis industry. I look up to her a lot, and she's one of the women who got me started in the advocacy stuff, and I look up to her a lot. And she kind of cheers me on sometimes, and she's still there. So if you guys ever see Valerie Hubbard, give her a hug. She's one of the ladies who really got cannabis going here in New Mexico. She got popped back in the day, did some time, and then even when she was in the safe house, they came and picked her up. The Drug Policy Alliance and said, we need to get cannabis legal here. And so she's one of the reasons why we have medical cannabis in the state. And I can't thank, people like her enough. So, but with that being said, we couldn't have any of that without, the Cheech and Chong guys, because I remember the movies, they were just making fun of it, making fun of, the drug war. They'd make fun of the cops. Was that one guy, he turned into a lizard after smoking certain weed or something like that, something stupid. So yeah, without guys like that and without people like, Valerie Hubbard and, SE here in New Mexico, we wouldn't be where we are. So I thank them so much, and good luck to Cheech and Chong. They do have their own separate company, so they're working with Dreams on this. And so we'll see what happens. Normally what they do is they work with these companies to use their cannabis, and then they pretty much just white label it and, give them the recipe or their cultivars from another state, because they can bring clones and seeds and stuff like that. So I have no clue what the details are exactly, and we'll figure out more here soon. So before that we end that and we go to bonus info, you got anything on that, Larry?
Nothing more on that, but let's not forget the convention that's coming up too.
And that's what's going on with the bonus info. So
Okay.
let you guys know, here's one of the events going on this week. If you guys aren't in the know, the Lucky Leaf Expo is going on in Albuquerque from Friday to Saturday, 23rd to 24th, I believe, or the 22nd, 23rd. My days are all messed up.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Friday
be in
and
Albuquerque.
Saturday. Yeah.
Friday and Saturday. I'm going to be in Albuquerque this weekend for something else. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the Lucky Leaf Expo. But if you are, go. It's great. I went to the very first one. There's a lot of great seminars there, a lot of great companies that help you out. If you're looking for lighting, even if you're looking for an RO system, the state will give you rebates on certain lights, electrical, and certain water stuff too. So keep that in mind. You're putting money up front, but you're getting some money back via the rebate. And certain companies that could be there might help you even with that process of the paperwork and everything. So it's a good thing to go to. It's great to really just talk to people, get to meet more people in the industry, network. And it's great to learn some stuff. I've learned some stuff at the first one, and I'm going to try to go to the next one. This is like the second one they've done this year, isn't it?
Yes. There was
Yeah.
Canicon in May.
Okay,
that was
that's
a
what it
different organization. I went to that, and I shot videos, and you can see them up on Instagram, at MMJ Radio. And I also shot videos for the Lucky Leaf the previous time. So if you want to see what it's like, you can go look at those videos. And if you see me at the convention, I will be shooting videos of patients and also of some of the booths and new products and so forth. So come say hello if you're at the Lucky Leaf convention this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, go say what's up to Larry. I always do when I see him. And I say hey to everybody up there up north. I got all the old OGs up there, the cannabis industry from the medical days that I love to see and everything. So hopefully I'll get to see some of them this weekend at the other event I'm at. Maybe I can get to the other conventions, and maybe Crucis will have its own big convention one day with a bunch of seminars and a bunch of companies like that. So we'll see. But anyway, that's everything I have. Larry, do you have anything before we get out?
No, just thanks for the opportunity. If people are looking for great cannabis domain names, especially for lounges and for dispensaries, it's 420dn.com. Again, my email is mail@lslove.com, and I thank you for getting me back on the air after a long time.
I appreciate you being on, and I can't wait to see how the rebrand goes. So I'll be looking out for that, Larry. Thanks for showing up again, man.
My pleasure.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Peace.